How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be continuing my Sharks of Summer series. For those of you guys who are just tuning in, Sharks of Summer is where every week during the summer I do at least one shark video talking about a shark movie, sometimes two or more if I just feel like it, but this time around we're going to be talking about a cult classic. This is Sharknado from 2013. Directed by Anthony C. Ferrante, and stars Tara Reid, Ian Ziering, and John Herd. This movie is from the Asylum, and it's probably the Asylum's most famous movie. For those of you guys who are unaware, the Asylum is a low-budget movie studio that focuses primarily in mockbusters and creature features, and out of the creature features, shark movies are the most popular, and that's in turn they made the most of them. They were always a little cheesy, always a little goofy, always, kind of sillier movies. And when you got to Sharknado, that was the point when the company kind of became self-aware, and they knew that their movies were kind of silly, so why not go all in on that? Why not make a silly, fun, over-the-top movie? And I have to say, when this came out, people heard Sharknado, they heard the title, they heard the concept, and it almost seemed like that was enough. Like, a lot of people just couldn't get over that sharks were in a tornado and they were fighting people flying through the air. The concept, that's all people needed. It spread like wildfire, and I remember everybody talking about, did you hear they made a movie called Sharknado? Sharks are in a tornado, flying through the sky. And everybody, man, back in 2013. But that being said, 2013 was 8 years ago. Old 2013, 2013, Zach, I was kind of more of a stick in the mud. I was way too serious and way too cynical back then. I've really worked on, trying to loosen up and, having more fun with life. But man, 2013, Zach got really annoyed with all these people that wouldn't shut up about Sharknado. And I just, at that point in my life, couldn't appreciate it for what it was. So it wasn't until a few years later that I finally started to come around on the whole concept. And I have to say, the first time that I sat down and watched through the whole thing, I was pleasantly surprised. It was a lot better than what I thought it would be. I thought it'd be one movie that had the concept as one joke, and it would just keep hammering it in over and over again and, telling cheesy one-liners, but it really doesn't do that. The comedy comes from the fact that it's a wacky, outlandish concept, and just having that, being able to let them do whatever they wanted, it was funny because the situations were over the top and crazy, but it wasn't turning to the camera making lame one-liners that'd be dated in 2 years like I thought it would be. And overall, it just allowed the creators a lot more freedom to make a wacky, zany movie. And nowadays, I really do appreciate this one. Let's go ahead and, how about we talk a little bit about the plot. I'm not going to be doing any major spoilers, but I do want to say my piece on a few plot points and make sure you guys have a basic understanding as to what this movie's about. We meet our main character, Ian Ziering here plays Finn. Finn is a local guy, and he's friends with a lot of the other locals. He's a surfer, he's in his middle age, and a few people make jokes about that. Like, oh hey, you can still surf. He also is a business owner. He runs a beachside bar, and a lot of people really loved coming in saying, oh, hi Finn, there you are. So it's really cool to see he has a strong relationship with his city. That's really fun. And you get to meet a few of the other locals, a few of the other characters who would be your main characters in this movie. He has a younger woman who is working as his bartender, and, she's a little tougher, and she'll, stick up for herself, and she actually really loves Finn, but he says, oh no, I'm your boss, that's inappropriate, and turns down her advances. She also has a big scar on her leg, a shark teeth scar, so we'll of course get to find out more about her backstory. He also has a best friend, this British guy who's a little sarcastic and will tell jokes, but overall very loyal. And you also get this drunk, his best customer, who when they have to leave the bar will literally carry his bar stool as his weapon and tool and use it throughout the adventure. That's pretty funny. It's a pretty funny idea and a pretty funny concept. And it's actually kind of refreshing. You see, Finn is a legitimately really good and nice guy, and he really does care for his friends, and his friends care for him. It's, yeah, really refreshing to actually see a movie where people have relatively healthy friendship with one another. You don't tend to get that too much these days. Everybody just kind of fights and bickers and makes jokes at each other's expense. But anyway, they're all hanging out at the bar when a hurricane comes in, and Finn closes the bar, gets everyone out, get to safety, people, and his core group of friends stick with him. And one of the interesting things is this movie actually starts out as a disaster movie more than anything, trying to get everybody out, trying to get everybody to safety, trying to find your way through the crowds, through the water, through the danger, and trying to get yourself and your friends out. And it's really different than what I thought it would be. And also, you do get scaling with this movie. It starts off when the sharks do come in the floods. You see the sharks, and they start off as your typical low-budget shark movie stuff, your typical Asylum stuff where sharks will attack people in waist-high water. They'll do the quick cuts between the sharks and the people reacting to them. And overall, the first time I watched this, I was like, oh man, is it just going to be one of those movies? Is it going to be really cheap and they'll just cut their way around any action? But no, it starts off as a typical low-budget shark movie, and then slowly you see more and more sharks. The CGI sharks will interact more and more with people, and then of course towards the end they're flying around in tornadoes, and they're doing crazy over-the-top fight sequences. So it's kind of weird to see Sharknado start off kind of small, kind of low budget, kind of what you'd expect it to be, and then get bigger and bigger as the movie goes on. A really good increasing sense of scale with this movie, which I thought was really fun and clever and kind of unexpected. But yeah, the sharks, there is a Sharknado, I think 3 or 4 Sharknadoes towards the end, but this movie starts off really more as Sharkicane, which doesn't have near as much of a ring to it. It's hurricanes and flooding, and sharks come in the flooded waters. So there's flooded waters all around the city, and sharks are in those waters, and every now and then they'll get spit up by the hurricane. So you get the disaster movie, you get everything flooded, and there's a whole bunch of little, side pieces, little things that these characters need to do. I gotta save people from over there, we gotta go to the tunnel, see what we can do. Where can we go? Where can we get around? And at even one point, there's a scene where they see a bus full of children trapped in the water, and Finn has to go save them. They say, oh, that's really hard, I don't think you can do it, and you're just going to die before you get to even save your daughter. And Finn goes, no, I can't just leave a bus full of children there. And he has to go and do this big rescue mission stunt. And overall, really just giving your character the opportunity to save a bus full of children really does show that this is your archetypical good guy character. He's going to always do what is best, no matter the risk. And it's actually, we haven't seen this much of a good guy archetype in quite a while, so it's pretty refreshing. They're all going to try to get to Finn's kids. You see, Finn was married. He has an ex-wife, Tara Reid, and Tara Reid's with her new boyfriend, and they say, oh, it's just a little flooding, just a little hurricane, we're safe in Beverly Hills. And yeah, this movie takes place in Beverly Hills, so a deep, rich California setting for this movie, and they're all supposed to be locals, and they talk like about California like locals would. Hey, go over here, go through that street. And it is kind of cool to see the characters really know their setting, which is pretty interesting. But anyway, he's getting to his ex-wife. they don't want to leave, but he says, hey, I'll try to talk you into leaving, I'll try to help you, but overall, I can't really control you, but I am definitely getting my kids out of there because I have to make sure my kids are safe. So you see him really taking charge and, not wanting to leave his kid in what he knows to be a bad situation because he was down at the front lines. He has a beachside bar. He got to see firsthand just how bad it is, and he knows more than the people from up coast do. He's like, look, you're not scared, but this thing is really bad. So he has to save his family, and of course that's not as easy as you would think. And then at the end of the movie, the Sharknadoes finally come. Like I said, it was more Sharkicane and Shark Flood, but you do actually get the Sharknadoes, and that really is where the violence and, crazy action gets over the top. Sharks are flying through the air and you're cutting them with chainsaws and stuff. And it's pretty cool, pretty over the top, and pretty crazy, especially when they literally think of a way to fight the tornadoes, which is pretty silly but leads to a good climax. And overall, I definitely would recommend this movie. It's silly and fun, but the thing is, like I said earlier, it doesn't turn to the camera and tell dumb jokes. It really goes, hey, we're a low-budget shark movie, we're the Asylum, people aren't going to take us seriously anyway. But what if we knew people weren't going to take us seriously, and we played with that? It really was more than telling jokes. It was, what if we could take that suspension of disbelief and just throw it out the window and forget about it? And in turn, it let them play with the pieces, just even the concept of doing a Sharknado. If you were trying to have that suspension of disbelief, you couldn't even get that far. But, it says, hey, we can do whatever we want, we can do crazy, silly things and not have to worry about, people saying, oh, it's silly, because we know we're silly. And taking that and doing whatever and doing crazy over-the-top moments, it really worked, and I'm glad it wasn't just a traditional comedy of, oh, a Sharknado, isn't that funny? Let's say it 15 times, and let's bring in pop culture references or tell jokes that land only about a quarter of the time. They don't do that. It's just people having fun with the movie, which I really do appreciate. And, having this much creative freedom, you don't see that too terribly often. Maybe in trauma films or in like old Italian movies, but you don't really get that sense of just anything can happen and the writers just let loose, and that's really what it is. That's where the humor is derived from, which is a far better source, and it really leads to a fair bit of creativity. Overall, I really do like this movie. When it first came out, just everybody going on and on about it, I kind of distanced myself, but nowadays, looking back, I'm like, this is actually pretty cool, and I definitely would recommend it. They made 5 sequels to this, and I'll get to them sometime soon, or at least the first part during Sharks of Summer. But anyway, I may have rambled on for a bit. To everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You're really helping the channel out. And I'll go ahead and put a relevant playlist on the bottom. If you guys want to see more, you can click there and see more. It should be my Sharks playlist. If you want to see what other shark movies I've covered, you can click there and see more. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.